September 5th evening session of the Johnston County Board of Commissioners, and welcome those of you who are here in person and those who are watching on live stream on YouTube. I do have a couple of announcements. Thanks, sir. A couple of announcements. One, again, it's just to review the 6 priorities that the board established and two Marches ago, and we again kind of reconfirmed those this past March. And I'll just read those, and as we go through the sessions tonight, you will see one or more of these in each one of the items. They are educational funding, infrastructure, financial stewardship, land use, public safety, and county employees. And the first order of business tonight is we had a board appointment that had more applicants than we had positions open. And just wanted to announce that the Veteran Services Advisory Board, Larry Pittman was appointed for a term ending September 30th, 2026. And with that, we'll move on to approval of the agenda. Is there any changes to the agenda that need to be made?
Mr. Chairman, I move the agenda be approved as presented.
Second. All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Agenda is approved. Next up, we have public comments, and I was going to look and see, is there anybody here for public comments on an item that is not on the agenda that wishes to speak? All right, I'm going to take that as a no. And I was going to say, we still have no emails on public comment, okay? Then next, I will move on to a resolution supporting the realigning of US 70 from I-42 to US 70 business. Do we have somebody presenting that, or we just think? All right, y'all have that resolution?
Yes.
All right. Any comments on that? I hear a motion to.
At what point will we be naming that new stretch?
I think we are still waiting for the DOT to schedule a second public meeting in the Cleveland area for that. So I don't think there's a time certain for that. Mr. Andrews, if you want to.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, board members. Matter of fact, I've got a call with DOT representative in the morning about the timing of that and the request of the commissioners to consider a second meeting further down 42 about all these changes.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the resolution as presented.
Second. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Me. You're a nay? Okay, we have one nay there. Then the motion still is approved. How about that? That's good. All right, next up, we have a series of public hearings. We have the first case in front of us tonight. It's a rezoning conditional use. It is case 2217. I will now open that hearing, and I will call on Braxton Newton to come forward and give us some background and an opportunity for us to ask questions.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Your first case this evening is conditional zoning case 22-17. This is a petition to rezone 52.92 acres located in the 1500 block of Cornwallis Road in the Cleveland Township from agricultural residential to agricultural residential conditional zoning. The owner, Philip and Kathleen Wood, applicant is Shenandoah Homes, and the conditional zoning request involves they're requesting single-family residential with access to public sewer or connection to public sewer. And in accordance with our ordinance, this also allows a density of 1.5 units per acre. The utilities and services for this area are served by Macklemore Fire District and CNS Rescue Squad, and the existing land use and zoning is agricultural purposes and AR. Surrounding land uses are used for agricultural and residential purposes, and also general business special use district is nearby, and this is a storage facility. In addition, there's a cell tower nearby the site and an event center as well. There's a property that's on I-2 SUD, and this is a salvage yard, junkyard salvage yard. Traffic concerns, Cornwallis Road, this portion of Cornwallis Road does appear on the, as having a vehicle or a traffic count of 5,100 vehicles per day, and this is a 2019 count. Cornwallis Road does appear on the comprehensive transportation plan as a boulevard needing improvement. A traffic impact analysis has been performed by Raymond Kemp and Associates and has been provided to you. The property is located. Previously, this has been around for a while. It's been on our agenda for quite some time as it's been tabled. Previously, it was noted in our previous land use plan and as being a primary growth area. This does coincide with one of our medium density growth areas now in accordance with our current land use plan, newly adopted land use plan. Be glad to answer any questions you may have. I will note that the applicant did provide for you a new set of drawings, preliminary site plans, and you should have those. Those should be seal dated by the engineer of May 1st, 2023, if I understand that to be correct.
All right, any questions for Mr. Newton at this point?
I do. Refresh my memory. You said it had been before us before. What was the disposition?
There was no disposition. It's been tabled several times at the applicant's request as the board worked on some issues with regard to sewer allocation.
Right.
All right, any other questions? All right, thank you, Mr. Newton. And I'll ask now the applicant come forward and speak to the request and the proposed conditions.
I'm wearing this mask not because I like masks, but my wife had contact with somebody with COVID, picked it up about a week. So I tested negative. You never know. I'm trying to protect everybody. I've had it 3 times. It's Russian roulette. The worst, next time could be the worst. I don't know. But we're here. We were here. We filed this application on March the 20th, 2022. We were here, I think, in July of last year, and at that time, someone expressed concern over the sewer allocation project. We have tabled this to try to work with the board for virtually a year now plus, and the cost of this are getting considerable to the landowner and to the developer. Those of you who know time costs money. That we bring it back at a time when hopefully you are able to move ahead with this because this is maybe your most ideal residential project. We can show you photos of houses. There are nice houses in the adjacent area. And if you see the map of the area, it is near I-40. Most of these people will probably be using 40 to work as it's built. It's adjacent to existing subdivisions with the same density. There's no multifamily. It's all single family, all fairly nice houses. We will show you that we filed plats with the amenities we've added. Fred wanted amenities last time, sure he remembers. We've got amenities, okay? We put them on there, and they can serve not only this subdivision, but the adjoining subdivisions. We've also got sewer benefits. We've got a chart here. Basically, we filed for the rezoning in March 2022. It was approved by the planning board in May of 2022. We tabled it on July the 18th, 2022 to let y'all think about sewer allocation. My paralegal said sector allocation, we meant sewer allocation. county sewer capacity, the transmission capacity is there, treatment capacity will be there for the county engineer. This is, there's no transmission capacity there, and you know what the county capacity is when we could get these basically online in 2024 after the plant is done, okay? The land use plan, has had this in a high growth area. We'll be glad to share where it was. But it is certainly a high-growth subdivision area, as you've seen. It's very near 40. We have got a traffic impact analysis. We've got on and off ramps that we will construct. This will actually improve, we think, the road there. Obviously, roads are controlled by DOT. So we've met with DOT and we've hired a traffic impact expert to deal with that. We've met with the schools, the school capacity in this area, and the new high school at Wilson Mills, or outside of Wilson Mills. It's going to greatly help Cleveland, we think. In any case, we've tried to go through every single category we could go through to make this meet your approval. And in doing so, you know, we think it complies with the Lavelle decision, which basically says that, you know, if you could have impacts on growth, but that is not a factor in ruling on these decisions. So, not a legal factor anyway. So I want to present the engineer who's familiar with the plan. He will go through the plans we have of the design. Got photos of the houses, don't you? Show them the houses adjoining subdivisions, and this is going to be a first-class development. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Andy Mills with Shenandoah Homes. And just to expand a little bit on what Bob talked about. So, yes, this has been in the works for a little over a year now. Now, this particular, and you might hear me say both projects, so forgive me if I do that, because I got both of them on here tonight. This project actually was on the agenda last June when we presented our other project. We tabled it prior to the meeting. The reason why is that day, Braston had reached out to me to let me know someone had brought up the subject that someone had said there was an abandoned hog lagoon on this property. So we did not want to present it to you until we investigated it, figured out what was there, and come up with a solution. So that's why we took it off the agenda at that time. We immediately got in touch with our environmental consultant, got in touch with Mr. Wood, who is a property owner. He's here tonight. He could speak on it some more. This is an old lagoon that was used back in the 70s, so it's been out of commission for many, many years. Our environmental consultant came in, they met with the county, they met with the state, they met with the Corps, because on the original map, the reason that we didn't catch it was it was delineated as a wetland. So then when we found out that it was in fact an old abandoned hog lagoon, we were like, okay, well, what can we do if it's shown as a wetland? So we had the Corps come back out. They said, no, it's not a wetland. We can work through the process with the state to close it. So it's not anywhere near the areas where we're looking at for housing. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to go working with our environmental consultant and with the state and county. We will go through, we will test it, drain it, close it, end up just turn it into, we'll backfill it and turn it into a vegetated area. No concentrated stormwater will be going across there, any things of that nature. Also, one thing last year, at one of the meetings that we were in, I think it was our planning board meeting, there was another project here, and there was a young lady from, I think it was the Neuse River Keeper organization. Well, we wanted to be up front. We contacted her to let her know what was going on. Got her involved, showed her everything we had, made sure we kept her up to date, and so she was satisfied. She said there was no reason for her to show up. We told her, so that, you know, if you like, feel free. We can use all the support we can get. So just wanted to get that out of the way. Our environmental consultant is here tonight, so if you've got any questions about that further. Other than that, with this project, it went through planning. Like Bob said, we got our approval back in like May of '22. The only concern that they really had is that the amenities that we showed on the plan, they wanted us to agree that night that they would be built. And we did that. We did that night. There were some residents who had come out and was concerned, I guess, in the original development of because this is adjacent to Annandale. So in the original Phase 1 development, there were they had seen maps of walking trails. So I went back to research what that was all about. Well, what we found was there was a map that showed walking trails, but it was in Phase 2 and 3. Phase 2 and 3 currently is under construction. Phase 2 is about to be platted, and we've gone back and I think I spoke to Braston, also spoke to Chandra Farmer Utilities, and showed them that we've got the routing laid out for those trails. So those trails will be put in Phase 2 and 3 of the current Annandale development. So I think that satisfied one of the major concerns that night. Other than that, this project was utility-wise fairly cut and dry. We've got ways to loop all the water system, keep up our fire flows. We've already modeled that. We meet all our fire flow requirements. Sewer, which was the main issue of why we were here, was for the special use is for the sewer. There's no pump stations involved. We're gravity flowing. We're able to make connections to the locations. So that's cut and dry. Matter of fact, and our new development is proposing 18,160 gallons per day in the overall scheme of things for average flow. That's based on the 240 gallons per day per unit. The roads, of course, we had some folks that spoke out about the roads. We've got a traffic engineer here tonight, can speak on behalf of his working with NCDOT. On the map earlier, if you saw it, it's a pretty wide coverage right there on Cornwallis Road. We're basically impacting that whole road with turn lanes and expansion. We're dedicating additional right-of-way in front of our property to help with making sure there's plenty of room there. And if you remember, that road has that weird intersection that comes into it at a sharp angle. And DOT wanted us to expand our center turn lane all the way up to that. So we've met all the requirements the DOT had of us during this process. Once again, we got Sean Brennan with Ramey Kemp here. He can answer any of your questions about that. Schools, I knew schools came up. We met with the schools, Mr. Brooks with the county schools. He gave us some updates on how some of the schools in this Cleveland area were some of the schools that are going to be built to help alleviate some of that overcrowding. And I followed up with him this morning just to make sure everything was kind of still on track. And he was telling me about the high school that's proposed to help with some of the Cleveland High School and the Corneth Holders High School, anticipated fall of 26 school year opening. He said that that right now, as of today, was still on track. Middle school, he's anticipated a 2026 school opening for that. And then elementary school, anticipating breaking ground in fall of 23, which will take students from the Cleveland Elementary and Polenta Elementary. I understand that there was a bond passed for the high school and elementary school that was funded in 22. So it sounds like there's progress being made there for schools. Like I said, with traffic, the only thing we can really do is what we can do that within our project boundary. We've done everything we could address there with DOT. The other issue that night, the one that I felt like was the main thing, that it was a task that I felt like that we could handle, right? That we could go back to the drawing board and handle, was when Commissioner Smith brought up about wanting to enhance the site plan with open areas and more than just the walking trails. What we did is we went back to the drawing board. We tried to take every little bit of open area we could. We create some pocket parks. Our new site plan, I think, addresses where we've got, where I think we're showing on there, some dog parks, playgrounds, just some open areas that we'll grade out. Kids want to go out and play ball a little bit. Even some areas where it might just have a gazebo or some hammocks. We're starting to find out in other locations. Once again, we're still doing all the trail system that will connect into with the sidewalks, because this development will have the sidewalks along the road. So we feel like, we feel pretty confident we've addressed there, the concerns of that night, and we're going to continue to try to do whatever we can to make a good living space for future residents. Other than that, I know I tried to make it quick, but if you have any questions for me, I'm here. Mr. Wood, property owner's here tonight. Like I said, traffic engineer's here and our environmental. So any questions regarding this, please feel free.
I got a question, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
The question is commonly asked of me, okay? And I'm simply posing it. And why should the taxpayers have to build schools because developers want higher density? That's a hard question.
Yes, it is. It is. And I will tell you that, well, our density, and I just kind of brushed over that in here. Of course, our density is 1.5 units per acre for this particular development. And for us, we're
Yeah, okay.
1.49. So, but I'm saying, we're not really looking at, the density, but I do understand your question. Now, we'll say some of the projects that we're dealing with in Durham County, they actually have a fee developers have to pay to help with school expansions. So we're having to deal with that in Durham. Other municipalities we work with, we haven't run across that anyway. I was surprised that hasn't really become something that you start to see, gain some traction.
Well, years ago, we had impact fees that could be charged, and certainly we can't do that now because there are wiser people in Raleigh than down here. But it's typically, I wish we had, and I hope our council is paying attention to Durham County so we can figure out that. But that often is a question asked of me that, and certainly we know that the infrastructure, the sewer and water, is the enterprise fund, so that's got to pay its way.
Right.
But I don't think there's a right answer to the question.
Yeah.
I was just posing.
Well, like I said, I can't answer that question. I just know that there is one municipality that they figured something out.
Okay.
When you said 1.5 units per acre, is that usable acres or all acres?
That's just what, so based on the AR zoning in there, we have 1.5 dwelling units per acre. With our layout that we've got right now, we're just using 1.49 dwelling units per acre. So that's just how many lots we were able to.
But it's all the gross acres in the thing.
Well, now, as far as open space, we've got, we're required to have 15% of our overall boundary, property.
Right.
Should be open space. We're going to provide 16.5% of our overall space to it.
Okay.
Quick question, and I'm not trying to split hairs or confuse anybody, but your attorney had said that something about on-off ramps. I wrote that down. I'm assuming he means the turning lanes and the two turning lanes. Okay, when he said that, I was like, I can't imagine where an on-off ramp would go in that area.
Well,
So-
yeah, I heard it too. He was talking, I guess, about being close proximity to I-40.
Right, the
Construction
new-
going there, but yeah, no, we're here. We're not
It's
doing
just
all off routes, but we are, doing all the turn lanes that's required.
Got it. Thank you.
All right, any other questions? I did have one, Mr. Mills. I know we used to call them findings of fact back in the day, but there's four items here, and I don't know if you, with your team, if you wanted to make sure you address those before we get into the specific conditions.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm asking you.
Oh, well,
So, yeah, so
sorry.
if you want to take each one and kind of, you already have something written there, but if you have.
No, actually,
ones.
honestly, I don't have those findings of fact written down here. If you give them to me though, I'll answer, because I know that we've addressed them previously.
Yeah. I just wanted to
Where's
say
that?
for that to be in the record. Sorry about that. It took me a minute to scroll through here.
That's fine.
I don't mind too, so.
Caught me
There's
off guard
a
with that.
written response for each one.
Yeah, yeah.
So it starts here. Excuse me. All right, let me make sure I got the right ones here.
This would need to be amended.
can answer.
Okay, you're talking about from the TI, not, excuse me, not TI, from the TRC, I mean, the comments I had received from them?
So, no, this is where it says.
The conditional
that
zoning
that
applicant.
That the use or development is located and designed, proposed, blah, 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 and there's 4 of them. So, and if, is
Just
that,
make sure I'm looking at it right.
okay, yeah, I was gonna say, don't ask me to scroll. Yes, yes, I am.
Okay, so number
If
one,
you just wanna say, yeah, if you wanna say number, you don't have to read.
I don't have to read them all?
No, just say number 1 in your answer, I guess that's good enough.
Number one is yes.
Okay.
Hey, no, excuse me, Andy, each one you need to say why.
Yeah, I just want, yeah, if you wanna say.
Okay, well, we gotta,
Just
yeah,
have me a little
I'll
bit
see
of
what comments right
explanation.
here. Sorry.
That's
Okay,
right.
for number one, our response is sewer's been designed for the Annandale Phase 4 project to remain consistent with and tie into the adjacent properties, Annandale Phase 1 through 3.
And that will be gravity.
Correct, that's correct.
But as you go through those, state the number first, what it is, and then state the answer.
Okay. Number two, the answer to that, sewer designed to meet the Johnson County Utility Code. Lot size will meet Johnson County UDO and land development requirements per special use with public water and sewer. Yes. Number three, using sewer mains instead of septic allows for a greater lot density, which enhances the value of the land and surrounding properties. This will allow for the proposed project to be consistent with the adjacent phases of Annandale. Yes. Number four, the development is an addition to Annandale Phases 1, 2, and 3 and conforms with prior phases. On the Johnson County Comprehensive Plan update, it's in the future land use shown as a primary growth area, which is consistent to our design. That's yes.
And I think Mr. Newton had said that complies with our recently adopted land use plan update as well.
Yes, sir.
All right. Let's see. And we've got the conditions. Yeah, let's go with the, I think there are 26 of them if my scrolling was right. Does that sound right there? Just make sure that each one of these 26, that you're agreeable to each of those.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chair, if I may, with regard to the conditions and requirements, number 2 does have a date in there referencing the date of the preliminary plat as 5/17/2022. I think we would need to amend that to 5/1/2023.
Okay.
And additionally, Mr. Mills has made reference to the Hog Lagoon and the closure, certification and closure. We may want to make reference to that if the board chooses to do so, that they would comply with certification and they would provide certification of closure and abandonment and remediation at Hog Lagoon.
All right, Mr. Mills, I don't know if you heard that last number 27. He was, Braxton was mentioned about some sort of compliance with the closure of that, if that's could be acceptable, okay?
Yeah, that's correct. That's good.
All right, I think that's all at this time. If there's anyone else wishing to speak on this item, please come forward and state your name and address.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Chandra, she's out.
She's over here in the corner.
You think I could see you? Does this project meet all of the needs of sewer?
This project is compliant with the county's residential sewer.
Shannon, can I ask you? Come on here. I can hear you fine, but I don't know the folks.
So this
Watching it.
project is compliant with the conditions in the county's residential sewer service policy, and we do currently have downstream transmission capacity and available treatment capacity. Any
All right.
sewer questions?
As everyone knows, just for the record, Chandra is the county engineer. Tony, I thought you brought up a good question. I hear it. This is a landlord decision, and this is impact fees. And you can't charge impact fees. And this decision basically comes out and says, we conclude that Traverse County lacks the authority to deduct APFO, in other words,
Bob, I hate to ask you to do this, but could you turn that around so you can read that to us with facing the microphone so we can all hear you?
high-growth counties, of which we've not been one, have nationwide had a problem with what they call adequate public facilities ordinances. And they basically pass an ordinance that says, we're going to decide whether or not we've got adequate public facilities to pass this project, okay? That means, do we have enough schoolrooms? Do we have enough roads that the state controls? And nationwide, various states react to these kind of ordinances differently. North Carolina Court of Appeals has said if you're going to have this kind of thing, it's got to be legally done through the legislature. And for reasons that I cannot imagine, it has not been done through the legislature. Some of y'all are much more politically astute than I have. So, and some of these involve impact fees where it's just like nitrogen mitigation fee or something. Somebody goes in and pays the county money for schools, okay? That is not legal in North Carolina generally. Kerry did it, they got sued. You know, it's been a problem. So I just give you this county, this statute so you can basically, or this case, you can basically look at it. It's what you tell somebody when they say, well, why didn't we both pay for school? Take it to the legislature, because that's their issue. And realize what the Court of Appeals says, that a county cannot indirectly impose appropriate facilities ordinance. In other words, just because you wish we had more schoolrooms is not a relevant problem.
That issue's not before us. We don't need to be talking about that.
All right, that's fine. I want to be sure it's not, it was brought up.
All right.
And I think it's a natural issue. We've got a traffic engineer.
Sure.
I don't want to beat you to death with that one, Fred.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is there any questions on this traffic? I know we've had the report. Any questions on that, so? Since you came up, you can tell us your name and.
I'm Sean Brennan. I actually used to work at DOT, but I work at Ramey Kemp Associates now. We're doing turn lanes, as Andy mentioned, along Cornwallis Road, and there's also off-site improvements along Cornwallis at Shiloh Road. That pretty much covers it.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Thank you.
We have the owner, Mr. Wood, here.
Okay. I don't think there's any questions for Mr. Wood. All right. Is there anyone else wishing to speak to this issue? If not, I will close the public discussion portion of the hearing and call Mr. Newton to come forward to present and summarize the planning board's recommendation.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair, as it relates to conditional zoning case 22-17, planning board does provide a recommendation of approval and offers for your consideration a statement of consistency.
All right. Any additional questions for Mr. Newton? Comments? All right. If not, I'll ask the applicant one more time. I know we went through the now 27, and I think there was a change number 2 to change the date to May the 1st of 2023, and then add 27, which is to present a report showing compliance with the closure of the former lagoon. So are those 27 acceptable to you? Okay. Well, I will now close the hearing and turn it over to the board for their deliberation and discussion.
Mr. Chairman, let me address a couple of things. I think this is a perfect case for the planning board was willing to approve this plan when it was a asphalt and lot subdivision. And because of this board talking to the developer, David Stallings, that they've improved it to the point that they have, and if you look at all the amenities, they've got an activity field, they've got a hammock area, they now have a dog park, They have a playground for the children. They have gazebos. All of the things which will improve the quality of the life of the people who live in this subdivision. And it's only because these commissioners demanded that before they would approve this subdivision, that it had to offer a better quality of life for the people who are going to live in it. And I think that's an example of us taking our responsibility, and I hope that in our new statutes, we will get a chance to do that on subdivisions. And Tony, let me answer your question.
Okay.
That question is such a selfish question that people ask, and is so uninformed as to think that schools and the budget doesn't pay for itself. The first thing you need to ask someone who asked you that question is ask them what do they think about the people that went before them that paid for the infrastructure that they now enjoy to be able to move to Johnston County. They just didn't appear out of nowhere. Somebody else paid for it so they could be here. That's number one. Number two, that question is short-sighted in that it only looks at the cost of that the house pays. It does not look at the basket of tax revenue that we get. We heard Johnston talk this morning that we are going to have an increase in our tax base of close to $1 million after we as a board cut taxes 4 cents and met all the schools' funding and every other need that this county had. So I think that you have to look at all the taxes, the real estate taxes, the sales taxes, the taxes that businesses pay. All of those taxes have to be considered. And we, time after time after time, approve subsidies for corporations to come build manufacturing plants and other plants in this county, which create jobs. And it always is amazing to me that people think that people can work and don't have to go home and stay somewhere. There's got to be a house. For every job created in this county, there's got to be a house built. And you have to look at the total tax burden. And I just think it sounds cool to say I'm not for growth. It sounds cool to say, that we can't build schools. We're building schools. And unless things change, we won't have to build very many more schools because people are going to go to charter schools and private schools. So because of what is happening in our schools today. So just want to set the record straight and make sure I had a chance to talk about that. I appreciate the applicant making this development a quality development, and I'm looking forward to us approving that development.
Any other comments? The discussion, rather. How about that? Any more discussion?
No.
I have a comment.
All right.
I'm going to vote for it if somebody makes a motion. But number 3, finding of fact. I don't believe if you ask the majority of people who live in that subdivision next door that their quality of life will be enhanced by competing to get on that road with all these new cars. I mean, it says it will enhance the quality of life for the people next door or the citizens.
I'm going to step out on a limb here, and I'm going to make a motion that we adopt the statement of consistency resolution as presented in the agenda packet and approve the rezoning request with the conditions as discussed.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? I do want to address Commissioner Godwin's, I believe that there was some consideration and possibly discussion with the residents of Annandale 1, 2, and 3, and there will be access for those residents to use those facilities. So
New improvements.
So I think that is at least my understanding of what was happening there with the neighbors on that one. So, any other discussion? If not, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right, next up, move turn the page here and move some papers.
Same.
Next, yeah, we
Well,
have,
holiday.
yeah, we have we now have case 2218, which is the same as a conditional zoning district hearing, and I will now open that hearing, and Mr. Newton, calling you to present to us the request and the proposed, or excuse me, the background, and be ready for some questions.
Yes, sir. Conditional zoning case 22-18 is petition to rezone 130.58 acres located in 1600 block of Josephine Road in Cleveland Township from agriculture residential to agriculture residential conditional zoning. Once again, owner Philip Kathleen Wood, Capital Properties of Raleigh, applicant is Shenandoah Homes. This, very much like your previous case, this is a request for a single-family residential development with public sewer connection at 1.5 dwelling units per acre. Utilities and services are the same as previous case. The surrounding land uses, or the existing land uses for agricultural purposes for the subject property and surrounding land uses are the same. And there is a PUD as well adjacent to or nearby the property, and this is once again, a major subdivision or a major residential development with access to public sewer. Traffic concerns, there is no traffic count or no available traffic count for Josephine Road, this portion of Josephine Road, and it does not appear on a comprehensive transportation plan as a boulevard needing improvement. And a traffic impact analysis was performed by Ramey Kemp and Associates, and you do have that for your consideration as well. Once again, when this application was made, we were under our previous land use plan, and this was located in, or was identified as being located in a primary growth area, and it is now with our newly adopted land use plan, it is identified in a medium density district or medium density designation, and it is in an outlying residential sewer service area. Would be glad to answer any questions you may have, and once again, as with the last, there are a new set of plans there, and if there is consideration given to approve, we will need to amend the conditions and requirements, once again, number 2 to make that note of the new date stamp plans.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Newton? And could you answer the question that we didn't ask last time about the 1.5 or 1.49? Is that per usable acre, or what is that?
It is per gross acreage in accordance with our UDO.
Okay, thank you. All right, there are no questions for Mr. Newton at this time. I will call on the applicant to come forward and present the information on their request and the proposed conditions.
So this project is actually the one that was before you last June, and with the discussion, we decided to table it that night. A lot of this is going to be similar to information I've already covered, so I'm going to see if I can expedite this a little bit so we can get.
So let me help you too. I'm going to try to make it less painful for you. Can we go ahead and just have those ready, those 4 conditions?
Got them right here.
Okay, well, I was going to put them up on the screen for everybody
gotcha.
to see. But if you want to go ahead with your, we'll eventually get to that, but I want to have it up so you don't have to, to read this time.
Perfect. No, like I said, this one here is very similar to the one we just talked about. Same kind of information came up that night, schools, traffic. I feel like we've already discussed the school situation as far as we could tonight. Traffic, our traffic engineer, once again, is here. He's already done all this work with NCDOT, TIA. Has been approved, things of that nature. This one, lay of the land's a little different. It is a lot of environmentally sensitive areas here, so we're not getting as close to the 1.5 density. We're actually only at about 1.16 units per acre as far as our density goes here. And in an effort to try to keep this as close to as the existing Island Creek development, we're utilizing a road cross-section with the paved road, no curb and gutter, roadside swales. By doing that, of course, we've designed our subdivision to meet the 12% impervious coverage throughout. With that, we've actually gone through and designated certain size houses on certain lots to make sure that we have a lot matrix that we will continue to follow to make sure that we stay and track that impervious count. Biggest comment we got last time, once again, was about the quality of life. And Mr. Smith had brought up some requests, went back to the drawing board. We also had the president of the existing Island Creek HOA is here. We've tried to stay in contact with him. When we went back, of course, the existing Island Creek neighborhood doesn't have an amenity center with a pool. I spoke to him about it. I said, if we go ahead and put one in our neighborhood, do you think people would be interested in utilizing that? And I think he's reached out to some of the folks there. Of course, I think a lot of people there had already started putting pools in their backyard, but there's a select few that it sounds like would be interested. So we implemented on the site plan, we're showing that we're putting an amenity center with a pool, with playgrounds, walking trails, dog parks, a lot of these little pocket parks. This area has a lot more space in the areas, in the more the environmental sensitive areas. So there, we're looking at stuff like timber pedestrian bridge crossings. Our greenway trails that we'll be doing is going to be a pervious material. So we're trying to be very environmentally friendly with that while still being able to provide all of these amenities that we've been asked to do. Other than that, water system, same thing, public water system, we've already checked, meet fire flow. Sewer, and with the sewer, one of the concerns from Island Creek had come to us about, they've got an existing private pump station that serves like, I think, 18 home sites. They wanted to know, is there a way that we could take that over? Because I guess they had been talking with the county about taking it over. So we redesigned our sewer, found out, yeah, we could capture that. So our agreement with talking to Island Creek folks, as well as Shanzer with Johnston County, is we're going to run our gravity sewer up there to take that pump station offline. The county already has a pump station in the back of Island Creek that we'll be able to flow to. So here, not only we're not building a pump station, we're actually going to take one offline. Other than that, like I said, as far as the numbers, 1.15 dwelling units per acre, we're at 1.16. Open space, the 15%, we're at 16.6%. So, like I said, instead of just rambling on, and if you have any questions, specific questions about this neighborhood, I'll be glad to answer any of your questions.
I like the way you've integrated multiple ingress and egress on that northern tract with the adjacent subdivisions. Is there no way to get any other ingress and egress on that southern portion?
I'm glad you brought that up. So we actually, there was a lady who was here from the Broadmoor subdivision.
Sarah.
Yes, Sarah. I actually talked to her again this morning. She was wanting to see some type of connection so that we could, or a way that we could connect to them, right? We actually went and met with the Parks Department. This past year, they had a couple of different meetings trying to get the community to involve. Matter of fact, a lot of these amenities that we're showing is stuff that we received from the director from a survey that Johnston County had taken. But yeah, so what we've done is we're showing where our walking trails are going to terminate at different portions of our boundary. Now, the one to the south where it goes toward the Broadmoor, that open area there, we're going to have to work with the owner of that portion of the property. That's why I was talking with Sarah this morning. We're going to try to work together if there's a way that we can make a connection, because that's what she's wanting to see happen. I know that the park has got some expansion of some park areas further down, I guess a little further south of their development. And what we talked to the Parks Director about is we're trying to help create a way that where the existing Island Creek folks could get over on these trails the same as anyone else, and hopefully eventually be able to continue through Broadmoor and on down to these parks. So I don't know if I really answered your question there, but we expanded as far as we had ownership to. But we do want to try to work with the adjacent properties however we can to work together on trying to lock all these together.
So there's opportunity for connectivity.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
All right, any other questions? And I think they have those four conditions on the screen, so if you just want to kind of glance through those, and if those are the correct
just read
answers,
that.
yeah, you can just say that you look through them and just say
Okay.
that they're still
That's right. Number
valid.
one,
Yeah.
number one's yes, still valid. Number two is yes, still valid. Number three, still valid. And number four, still valid.
All right, and then I guess the final thing is we have 33 conditions on this one.
Correct.
The second one, which would have to be revised to reflect that, the plan set date of May the 1st, 2023. But are those 33 conditions acceptable?
Yes. And we have no hard revisions on this.
All right. Well, good enough. Thank you. Is there anyone else here wishing to speak to this matter? All right. Seeing no one else, I will close the public discussion portion of the hearing. Now, let me back up. Mr. Spence, did you have anything else that you wanted to add to this before I close the public hearing?
No, I think most of my comments
If you would come up here, yeah. I'm sorry, I usually try to announce that before the meeting, but if you're going to speak, come to the microphone.
Most of my comments before apply to this subdivision too, and we think it's an excellent application. It's got full sewer access, as Chandra is indicating, and we therefore think it's good because the county sewer capacity, the land use compatibility, adjacent subdivision, traffic analysis, the amended plan for greenways and amenities, which I do give you all credit for. We did it in advance to Fred, and school capacity, and frankly, we need to get it designed.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. I will now close the public discussion portion and call for Mr. Newton to come forward and summarize and present the planning board's recommendation.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. As it relates to conditional zoning case 22-18, Planning Board does recommend, provide a recommendation of approval and also a statement of consistency for your consideration.
All right, any other clarification needed from Mr. Newton? All right. And I will ask one more time, those 33 conditions with the one change in the date, are you agreeable to all of those? All right, thank you. I will now close the hearing and turn it over.
Mr. Chairman, based on the findings of fact, I move to adopt the statement of consistency resolution as presented in the agenda packet and approve the rezoning request with the conditions as discussed for case number 2218.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Motion carries.
I really appreciate the effort he put into making this a nice subject.
Yeah.
But for these.
Yeah. Yep. All right. I was going to say, if there's anybody wishing to clear out, we'll take a moment to allow that, so. All right. Next up, we have case 2314, a rezoning hearing. I will now open that hearing and call on Mr. Newton to present the case background and be ready to answer any questions that we may have on that.
Yes, sir. Case 23-14 is petition to rezone 1.49 acres located on Old Drugstore Road near NC 42 West in Cleveland Township, from community business to general business. Owners Patricia Matthews Pierce, applicant Matthew Trevor Bullard. Utilities and services served by Macklemore Fire District and CNS Rescue. The property is currently vacant. There is no improvement to the property and is on community business, as previously stated. Surrounding zoning and land uses, there is a property that is 28 acres, essentially to the west, adjoining this property. It is agricultural residential and used for such purposes. The property is also, or there's also property adjoins this that is in the IHI, our Interstate Highway Interchange Overlay, and used for a multitude of retail purposes. There will also there's property immediately to the west as well, where you'll see a smaller tract and then approximately 15-acre tract. This is general business, and it is currently under development as a retail development, commercial development. Traffic count for this portion of Old Stage Road is not available, as this portion of Old Stage Road will, with the NC 42 improvements and the interchange improvements of NC 42 and I-40, will be terminated. Current plans are for it to be terminated and cul-de-sac and eliminating the connection to Cleveland Road, and this is on their most recent design plans for that, so there will be no through connection from 42 to Cleveland Road. NC 42 currently has traffic count of 21,500 vehicles per day. This is a 2021 count. Our current land use plan has this area noted as a regional activity center, which is really centered on the interchange of I-40 and NC 42. Staff will be glad to answer any questions you may have at this time.
Refresh my memory, Braston, on the difference between community business and general business.
So essentially, general business is a little more expensive. I'm not going to say much more expensive, but a little more expensive in terms of the allowed or permitted uses. In addition, it does not put any limitation on other than that would be caused by the size of the parcel. Does not put any limitation on the size of the structure, which would be allowed. Community business does do that for particular use.
Okay.
And is the intention still the same? It looks like some type of fast food.
I'll allow the owner to, or his representative to speak to that. That may have changed.
Okay.
All right. So just one clarification for me. In the rezoning case, is the actual use pertinent to the rezoning?
No, it is not. No, sir. Your consideration for a general use district rezoning is consistency with plans and policies, and is it in the public interest?
Okay. All right. Thank you for that clarification. Now I'd like to ask for the applicant to come forward and present any information they feel is needed and warranted on this.
I gotta go outside and thaw out.
Thank you.
We're asking to change the zoning to general, so the restaurant can have a drive-through. Every restaurant today got to have a drive-through. Everything on 42's got a drive-through. So if y'all would give us that zoning so we can continue on. That's all I got to say.
Would you state your name and address for the record?
Yeah. Charles Pierce. My wife and I own the property, had it for years. Live in Raleigh.
And your address?
3708 Swan Street, 27612.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, anyone else wishing to speak? If you would, please come forward. All right, seeing no one else, I will close the public discussion portion of the hearing and call on Mr. Newton to come forward to summarize and present the planning board's recommendation.
Sir, with regard to rezoning case 23-14, planning board does recommend approval and offers for your consideration a statement of consensus.
All right. Any additional questions for Mr. Newton?
It's a business area.
Yep. So I will now close the hearing and turn it over to the board for discussion and/or motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adopt a statement of consistency resolution as presented in the agenda packet and approve the rezoning request.
Second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. All right. Thank you. And if y'all want to take a chance to clear out, you can, and be safe going back to Raleigh.
You can thaw out now.
All right, next up, we have a conditional zoning district hearing. I will now open that hearing for case number 2315 and call on Mr. Newton for to present the background on that.
Yes, sir. Conditional zoning case 23-15 involves a 28-acre tract which is only a portion of the larger 200-acre tract located in 10,000 block of Buffalo Road in Wilders Township. They're requesting a rezoning of the property from agricultural residential to agricultural residential conditional zoning. Owner Roberts and Wellens Incorporated, and the applicant is Duke Energy Progress. The conditional zoning request involves a allowable use of a substation and related electrical facility. Utilities and services for this property or this area is Northside Fire District and Thanksgiving Rescue. Property is currently vacant and is once again stated or zoned agricultural residential. The surrounding zoning and land uses are agricultural residential and used for agricultural residential purposes. This portion of Buffalo Road does have a traffic count of 9,100 vehicles per day. This is a 2018 count, so you can imagine this is probably increased considerably. And Buffalo Road does appear on the comprehensive transportation plan as an existing minor thoroughfare with adequate design capacity. With regard to our newly adopted land use plan, this would be this particular area would be a low density area, designated as a low density area. Be glad to answer any questions you may have. You will find that there are numerous conditions that have been proposed by the applicant, as well as some negotiated by staff and planning board as well. And be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Mr. Newton? All right, thank you. I will now ask for the applicant to come forward to present any information they deem relevant to this request.
Hi, good evening. My name is Matthew Rode with Smith Anderson Law Firm in Raleigh, here on behalf of Duke Energy. You have members of our project team here as well, so if there's questions, might need to turn it back over to them. But as Raston mentioned, it is a rezoning of 28 acres out of a 200-acre tract, solely so that we can build a substation in this on this property. Substantial growth in the area, especially kind of north and west of here, which is a primary growth area under the land use plan, Flowers Plantation area. Just the growth that's happening out there. Load growth itself is enough to make us need this, but also it'll enhance reliability and enable us to restore service faster for the whole system in the area. It is a conditional zoning, really just to add the electric substation as a use that we can have on the property, which is an essential service for the area. But it expressly limits, no wastewater treatment, no solid waste, any of those other things that are listed in the conditions there. Compatibility with neighboring properties, it's minimal noise, minimal traffic, minimal environmental impact. It's monitored 24/7 remotely. I think typical conditions, you would have a pickup truck come, once or twice a month to check things out. So minimal impact there. The substation will be set as far back on the property as we can get it, as close to the transmission line we have that's on the back of the property. So it'd be about 1,000 feet from Buffalo Road. The property to the north is, I believe, a 40-acre tract. There's a house there, but it's about 600 feet from where our substation would be located. Properties to the east is the transmission line, and then property that will be retained by Roberts and Wellens, who's the current owner of the 200 acres. Property to the south is also undeveloped, owned by Roberts and Wellens, and to the west is Buffalo Road. So we believe minimal impact, definitely something that is needed in order to keep serving the growth in the area. Happy to answer any specific questions or turn it over to the project team if there's technical questions.
Any questions for Mr. Rhodes or of the technical staff? And I will put you through the same ordeal. I'm not going to ask you, and I will say thank you for the thoroughness of your responses on the findings of fact, but is there anything that you feel like you need to address on those four, or just that they are, I guess, still consistent in your with the original application?
Nothing to add. They're still consistent.
Okay.
And we are still in agreement with the 9 conditions that are listed there.
All right, thank you. That was my next question, so thank you very much for that.
Right.
Do you know if this is a tract that was recently logged?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. I think there's some logging next door.
Okay, all the aerials we've seen still have it with timber
Yeah,
on it.
yeah, but
If
the
it was
aerials-
logged, it was not by
Yeah,
us.
the aerials are older than the
Yeah, true.
timber harvesting.
Not that we're aware of.
All right. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else wishing to speak to this item, please come forward and state your name and address. All right, seeing no one coming forward, I will close the public discussion portion and ask Mr. Newton to come forward and present the consideration of the conditions.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. As, with regard to case 23-15, and the conditional zoning petition, Planning Board does recommend approval of the rezoning and does offer for your consideration the conditions listed in your packet, as well as a statement of consistency.
All right, any other questions or need for clarification? All right, thank you, Mr. Newton. And Mr. Rhodes, you've already stated that you are in agreement with the 9 conditions.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. I will now close the hearing and turn it over to the board for discussion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adopt a statement of consistency resolution as presented in the agenda packet and approve the rezoning request with the concessions as discussed.
I second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. All right.
It would be interesting, Mr. Chairman, to know or to see if the utility company enhances this new site with any particular physical security features.
Oh.
You know? Yeah. Yeah.
All right, next up, we have a rezoning hearing for case 2317. I will now open that hearing and call on Mr. Newton to present the case background.
Yes, sir. Rezoning case 23-17 involves petition to rezone 15.6 acres of a 145.95 or 144.95 acre tract located at 3444 Plainview Church Road in Pleasant Grove Township from agricultural residential conditional zoning, which it actually was a legacy special use district, to agricultural residential owner Little Black Creek Farm LLC, and the applicant is Pulte Home Company LLC. Utilities and services are West Johnston Fire District 5210 Rescue, and the property, for all intents and purposes, is used for formerly used for an outdoor recreation facility. This was a Black Creek paintball. Surrounding land uses and zoning is agriculture and residential purposes and zoned the same. Traffic concerns, Plainview Church Road, we're seeing about 1,000 vehicles per day. This is a 2020 count, and it does not appear on a comprehensive transportation plan as needing improvement. Property is located, previously located in a secondary growth area in accordance with our prior land use plan. Our current land use plan has this noted as a low-density residential area. Be glad to answer any questions you may have. And this is a down zoning.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Newton? All right. Let's see. All right, now I just ask the applicant to come forward and present any information he feels necessary for this case.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members. My name is Jeremy Keeney. I'm with Morrison Ritchie Associates. We're located at 530 Hinton Pond Road, Knightdale, North Carolina. I'm here on behalf of the applicants and the clients here to just, request that we get approval for this downzoning. It's a previous special use that we don't intend to continue. We just want to go back to the basic agricultural zoning, agricultural residential zoning, and here to answer any questions should the board have any.
Any questions? All right. Thanks. Looks like you're done quick. All right. Is there anyone else here wishing to speak to this item? All right. I'm going to close the public discussion portion of the hearing and call on Mr. Newton to come forward and summarize the planning board's recommendations.
Yes, sir, as it relates to rezoning case 23-17, planning board does recommend approval and offers for your consideration a statement of consistency.
All right, any other questions for Mr. Newton? All right, thank you, Mr. Newton. I will now close the hearing and turn it over to the board.
Mr. Chairman, it's seldom we see one want to go back to how it was, so I'm going to go out on a limb here and move that we adopt the statement of consistency resolution as presented in the agenda packet and approve the rezoning request.
I second it, 2317.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All right, hearing none. All in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right, next up, we have a special use hearing, and we will say if there's anyone here wishing to speak, if you would, please stand and be sworn in by the clerk.
Do you swear that the testimony you are about to give before this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do.
All right, well, I will open the special use hearing and call on Mr. Newton to present the case background on this for us.
Yes, sir. This petition is to modify a previously approved special use permit. Property is currently zoned or community business special use district, located at 5874 NC Highway 50 in Elevation Township. Owner ERB Properties, applicant is Jessica Johnston. The modification to the special use permit is to simply amend the allowed uses and eliminate all prior uses that were allowed by previous special use permit and replace that with a salon, essentially a hair salon. Utilities and services served by Elevation Fire District and AVS Rescue. The property, once again, is a community business, special use district, and is approved for, and was previously approved as a sporting goods sales, bait and tackle shop, as well as a florist and plant sales. Surrounding land uses and zoning are agricultural and residential purposes and zone the same, and also I-1 conditional zoning, which is occupied by Kim Station, and this is on the opposite side of NC 50 near Black Creek, just to the north of the property. And there's also a current general business zoning that is there, and it is currently vacant. Traffic counts, NC 50 shows up as about 5,500 vehicles per day. This is a 2021 count, and it does appear on a comprehensive transportation plan as an existing major thoroughfare with adequate design capacity. With regard to our current land use plan, this property is indicated as a agricultural or actually a low-density area. Residential area, and I'll be glad to answer any questions you might have as it relates to this.
Any questions for Mr. Newton? I did have one. I guess it's more procedural. Since this has already been approved as a special use, the four findings of fact, we figured all we're changing is that one under special conditions, that one in the specific use. Okay. All right. Just want to make sure on that. All right. Thank you, Mr. Newton. All right, now I'd ask that the applicant come forward and present any information you feel relevant to this case.
Hello, good afternoon. I am Jessica Johnston. Very simple. I'm a licensed stylist and looking to open up a salon to better serve our community at the McGee's Crossroads area.
All right, any questions for Ms. Johnson?
I do, I'm just curious. I'm familiar with the property. Is this the little resident or house building that's on the right side of the path as you go in?
The small yellow one right at the road, yes.
Yeah, okay. It looks like it ought to be a salon.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Johnson. All right, I will now close the public discussion portion of the hearing and call for Mr. Newton to come forward and summarize the planning board's recommendation.
Yes, sir, as it relates to special use case 585, modification number 3, planning board does recommend approval. Staff concurs with the recommendation.
All right, any questions for Mr. Newton? All right, hearing none, I will close the special use hearing and turn it over to the board for deliberation. Or a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the special use permit modification.
I second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Johnson. All right, next up, we have manager reports and comments. None, all right. I'm going to go to board, and Commissioner Smith, I'm going to start on this side tonight.
I have nothing.
All right. Ms. Stevens?
I would just like to reiterate what Commissioner Smith said earlier. It's really kind of refreshing to see, you know, I hope the public sees these developments that have come before us, came over a year ago, and we, you know, essentially asked them to do what was for the betterment of the communities. And it's great to see that they took the time, effort, and money to make that happen. And I think, you know, that goes to show that we're sticking firm to what we are trying to do with our comprehensive land use plan and our capital improvements plan, and ensuring that, you know, these projects that are coming across our desk are now ones that we feel like will be to the betterment of the communities.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I sit here and look at this scout in the back row back there, and me being involved in scouting for 18 years. Come up front and tell us who you are and what you're doing here.
You took my thunder away, Tom.
I was not going to ask you to come forward. I was just going to recognize you.
This young man goes to my church. His name
I want to
is
know
Eli.
what merit badge you're working on.
I think it's citizenship in the community.
Yeah,
That's it.
he works for me some.
Yeah, I know Mr. Dickey from church, so I figured I'd come out here and see what it's all about.
Did you learn anything?
Yeah, a little bit.
He's a good kid.
All right.
Good. What rank?
I'm not going to say so much till I little behind me. He's a little
Life.
sneaky.
I'm working on my Eagle project right now.
Good. What is your Eagle project going to be?
I'm gonna redo our church has like a little outdoor seating event out at the piece of property.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna redo that,
Very good.
make it nicer.
Great.
Right. Who's behind you?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think there's somebody behind you there, yeah. You can step on up, too. Yeah, come on up. Tell us about you.
Tell him your name.
Your eagle will follow you all your life.
Yes, it will.
Tell him your name.
Tell him your name.
Step forward a little bit more. Yeah, there you go.
Richard.
Andrews.
Good.
Did you
That's
learn
good.
anything?
Did you learn anything tonight?
Did you
Yeah.
learn anything tonight?
I'm kind of starting to understand.
Okay, well, good.
You
We are too, so you're the same.
We're all learning
together.
All right, yeah.
You want to be a county commissioner someday?
Kind of.
Yeah, all right.
There you go. Okay.
Are you Cub or a Boy Scout?
Boy Scout.
Okay.
Can't you tell the difference in the
Yeah,
uniform?
It's changed since I was there.
Good deal. We're glad you're here tonight.
Yeah, we are.
appreciate you.
Yeah.
Good job showing up.
Yeah.
And what are you first? What is your rank?
What's your rank?
Tenderfoot.
First class?
He's working on tenderfoot.
Okay.
Tenderfoot, okay.
Okay. Good.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Good luck, guys.
playing
Thank
along
you
with
for
us.
coming,
Yeah,
Eli.
come on up here. Thank
I'm
you.
sorry, Commissioner, but scouting's in my heart, and I sit there and looked at it.
Mine too.
Yeah.
Did a lot of work at Tuscarora.
All right, Vice Chairman Harris.
No, sir, I'm good, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner Godwin.
I don't have anything, believe it or not.
Oh, my God. Let me write this down.
I'm shocked. I don't know
It's
where I
my
can continue.
birthday.
Oh, my
This is the
goodness.
day.
Birthday, yeah.
That's right. Happy
All
birthday.
right, Commissioner Dickie Braswell.
You know, I take a lot of pride in being a member of this board. I'm really impressed tonight to see what has happened with these two subdivisions that came back to us much improved. And I think 99% of the credit of that goes to Mr. Smith. And he certainly is inspiring all of us to reach for different heights. And I for one, want to commend him for that. Another thing is today we met with two of our towns, and I want to always, as a board member and as a member as a whole and as a member of the board, to always reach out and keep a dialogue open with our towns, because I think we've chartered some new ground here by being cooperative and working together with our mayors and our 11 municipalities, and I'd like to see that continue.
All right, thank you. Well, I'm going to continue along those same lines. I guess earlier or late last week, we were informed via news release that the town of Smithfield had voted to pursue a lawsuit against the county regarding the utilities related agreement. And to build on what you said, I think this board, I've been on here, this is my 5th year now, and I think we've all stated, and the board as a whole, that we want to see our towns succeed. And if the towns are succeeding, then the county is succeeding. And we've done several things over the last 3, 4, 5 years, including offering up $5 million or $5.5 million for grants to the town, in addition to numerous other projects where we funded out of our general fund and out of our enterprise funds to do those. We have looked at regionalization. We've had unprecedented communications about that and what it may look like. We are continuing those. In fact, we've undertaken a regionalization study that the county is funding on its own to work with the towns. And as Commissioner Braswell said, that's a key piece of what we're doing. Land use plan is another prime example of that, where we are looking at pushing higher density growth towards the towns so they can grow. And I think we are looking forward to and continuing to work with all our towns to move in that direction, to cooperate, be collaborative, and make decisions that are best for the future of Johnston County, not just the unincorporated parts, but also the municipalities. And I think you will see this board continue to look forward and work with those towns to make sure that we are doing just that. So that is all I have to say for tonight. We've already mentioned the Commissioners Conference. That was a big success today. And again, I do want to say that we are starting to see, I think this is probably the first conditional zoning case where we have really worked with the developer to achieve a product that we feel will enhance the quality of the life for our citizens in Johnston County. So with that, I do believe we have a need to go into closed session. I do not think there will be any action taken when we come out of that. So if somebody would make a motion.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I move the board go into closed session for the purpose of consulting with an attorney employed by the board in order to preserve the attorney-client privileges pursuant to NCGS 143-318-11A3.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and second. All in favor of going into closed session for those reasons, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We will take a minute to clear the room, and then we will go into closed session.